I'm Councilmember Emmanuel V, Chair of the Public Safety Committee, and I am glad to be here today as we finalize this important discussion relating to mobile food vending. A reminder that this hearing is currently live on YouTube and Facebook and is also live and being recorded for rebroadcast on CTV, Columbus's Government Television Channel 3. The rebroadcast schedule is available at www.columbus.gov. We are here today for the final public hearing to review the latest draft legislation to amend Chapter 573, Mobile Food Vending. It has been 5 months of listening, researching, debating, and rewriting to bring forward code amendments that will take effect on May 1st, 2023. Before we dig in, I want to share my appreciation and gratitude to our stakeholders. Food cart, can you go down a little bit on that? Sorry. Food cart and food truck owners and operators, the Short North Alliance and its business members, OSU students, Short North residents, and other folks who care about the Short North District and its success. My team and I have enjoyed getting to know everyone and hearing the successes and frustrations that can occur when owning or patronizing small businesses in the early hours of any given day. Well, the intent of this legislation was driven by the Short North District and their entertainment zone that it has, in the entertainment zone it has become. This is a citywide piece of legislation that will adapt as new areas develop or the need arises. I believe that this draft in front of us today includes compromises and amendments that will continue to make the Short North District a thriving, dynamic community for both residents and visitors, make this area of town safer during the early hours of the morning, regulate food carts and push carts operating in the public right-of-way, and will continue to give residents and visitors the option to patronize food carts, or as it's commonly referred to as street meat, after the bars close in the district. A review of how we got here. On November 2nd, 2022, the Safety Committee hosted a Part 1 public hearing over mobile food vending and noise. We heard presentations over what the current state of these topics were then and highlighted potential issues. We also heard from 15-plus public speakers and received over 30 pieces of written testimony. Next, on December 6, 2022, the Safety Committee hosted a Part 2 public hearing to review the official first draft of the proposed code amendments to the Mobile Food Vending Code. At this hearing, we had 8 speakers and 4 pieces of written testimony. After this hearing, we went back to the drawing board and scheduled 3 stakeholder meetings in January, one for Short North businesses, one for food cart and food truck owners and operators, and one for Short North residents and visitors. In total, we had over 40 people participate. We specifically asked for feedback on 2 of the major changes to Chapter 573. One being food cart, push cart operating times in the public right-of-way. Number 2, locations, restrictions, and reservation system requirements. This public hearing, the third and final hearing in this series, is for council to receive a presentation over the current and revised proposed code amendments and to hear final comments from the public on their concerns, ideas, and questions on this legislation. As I've said at each hearing, Columbus is a growing, bustling city. We have hundreds of registered mobile food vendors in the city and great food. But how we regulate and enforce mobile food vendors going into 2023 and beyond is important to this committee, this council, and this community. With that, I'd like to welcome Kathy Collins, Assistant Administrator for Public Support Services at the Department of Public Safety, who will be presenting this evening. I would also like to thank our partners from the City Attorney's Office and the Columbus Division of Police for their input throughout this process. Thank you for joining us this evening. Kathy, I will turn the floor over to you.
Thank you, Chair Remy. I too want to echo the thanks to the many stakeholders that have come forward. When you're out in the field and you are observing things, you don't quite always get the flavor of what's going on, no pun intended or pun intended. But it was good to hear from them and their perspectives, and I think that they will agree that a lot of what they had to say they'll see reflected in the most current draft. Okay, starting the PowerPoint. So one of the things that we looked at that is a better definition of congestion zone, and it's a location for public right-of-way vending, typically a sidewalk, that will be designated and will require a reservation to operate. Anyone not having a reservation for the designated spots will be in violation of code, and this includes anyone outside of the designated spots in the congestion zone. We are making a trip to the Short North Friday to look at potential spots and come up with some, and decide how many there will be. We'll let that be a basis to get back with you, council member, to decide how many spots you think that we should be looking at in the Short North. So that is ongoing. I just threw a couple pictures in. This is the one in front of the courthouse. This is a good location. There's lots of sidewalk around it. There's trash cans there. It's always pretty neat in the area where they're working, and you don't see, I think there are 3 or 4 spots there. They're not always all filled, but I think on any given day you can at least find 2 food carts down there. Another change in the code involves the expiration date. So in current code, the expiration date for mobile food vending licenses is March 15th. We have asked to have that changed to the end of March, which is March 31st, to be consistent with other licenses that public safety issues. It's typically the end of the month. We right now are in our food truck rodeo, and I will get to that here in a few minutes. But we will honor the 31st, probably even a little grace period into April, depending what the demand is for inspections. If we're not through, we're not going to ding someone as long as they've got a date for their inspection. Background checks were in there, and it was always presumed that those were done annually, but we wanted to make sure that was specifically stated as such. And that's not only background checks for the owners, but for their employees as well. The online reservation system, which allows vendors to produce a temporary designated permit for reserved spaces or designated temporary confirmation for a particular space, will be expanded to cover the reserved locations in the congestion zone. So those locations that we finally determined to be the actual reserved spaces, you'll have to have the reservation for that. And one of the requests was that a portal be created that allows law enforcement to view reservations in order to determine compliance. That was completed last June and put into effect in July, and that was broadcast to the Columbus Division of Police. The hours of operation, one of the hot topics. So this is where voices were heard, lots of opinions were heard, and really nothing is going to change except we are clearly defining what the expectation is. Current code intended for food carts to close at 2:30 and be off the street by 3 o'clock in the morning. New code specifies they have to be closed at 2:30, which means no vending after 2:30, or they could be in violation, and they must totally pack up and off the street by 3 o'clock in the morning. It was a direct result of the feedback heard during the public hearings and stakeholder meetings, and this is one of the items that will be reviewed at the end of 2022 as to compliance. And so let's hope everybody fares well with this new change. Not really change, but this new codification of the exact times and sticks to it, and then we won't have to do any more looking. Of course, what will also be added into that equation is what kind of summer we have in the congestion zone. Code was also clarified that the following will have authority to enforce Chapter 573 to assist the license section of public safety, and that includes law enforcement, public service, and code enforcement. Public service, they do have, I think, second and I think third shift parking enforcement people, so if there are issues, they will also have the ability to enforce this code. Current language will basically stay the same on intent in that the city will give the 2 organizations money that comes out of the private right-of-way fees to help with their efforts in their respective locations, but there was a process that was in place that's not been put into law, and so therefore that is currently being worked on, and I think will be revealed very shortly. The Mobile Food Vending Advisory Board. Minor changes were made to this to streamline the appointment process. We removed the election section and changed the wording so that any appointments are made by the Director of Public Safety. We added a seat for Columbus Fire and Columbus Public Health and moved the meetings from monthly to quarterly to improve attendance. I have gotten some resumes. We have not finalized that board, but we will be doing so soon because they're going to have a lot of work to do. We kind of wanted to wait till this goes into an enforcement, but as soon as it does, we'll have a lot of work to do on several topics involved in the legislation. The reserved locations in the congestion zone. Language was added to give public service explicit authority to designate the right-of-way sidewalk spots for push carts at their discretion. It will be in consultation with Public Safety and the Mobile Food Vending Advisory Board. And there's a date set Friday for us to go out and look at potential spots. Here's some pictures of what can happen when there's several violations. This is an old photograph from Park Street, but as you can see on the steps in front of the Children's Theater, there's bags of trash. These two carts are very close. It would be very difficult late at night to navigate your way down this sidewalk, and the one that you see on the right is way too close to a building, and fire would have something to say about that. The penalties and enforcement date. Penalties were considered and determined to range from a minor misdemeanor to a misdemeanor of the first degree, depending upon which section of the code is violated. Other violations may be grounds for suspension, revocation, or permanent revocation by the license section of the license. Enforcement and implementation date was moved to May the 1st to allow for education and warnings, and the mobile food vending chapter will be reviewed in November to December of 2023 to assess the changes and to see if further changes are needed. Lastly, I'm going to do a little advertisement here. It's currently time for the renewals on mobile food vending, and we started our annual food truck rodeo this week on Tuesday. It's a one-stop inspection that there's representatives from the Department of Health, Division of Fire, and License Enforcement section there. You can get all three done at one time. It runs until April 14th, and you must have an appointment. To get an appointment, you have to turn all your paperwork in and be pre-approved. And once that pre-approval is determined, then you get an appointment to come in. We just like to warn people that background results can take up to 45 days. So those in the past that know it's taken a long time, hopefully they've planned accordingly. And the inspection appointment will take place at 4252 Groves Road. There's our customer service counter entrance. And there is the shed of sorts that we do our inspections in. I think everyone's pretty familiar with it that's been in. And that concludes my overview, sir.
Thank you very much. Just a couple points of clarification. In the current legislation, there actually is only a 3 a.m. number thrown out there. There's no other time frame, correct? Because I know you said intention, but the intention could have been 1 in the morning, but
that is correct. Intention, and I obtained from somebody that worked on the original legislation,
okay.
And so that's why the decision was made to clarify the 2:30 closure, 3 o'clock off the street.
That's right. I mean, that was the big piece of this, is that it just clearly stated 3 o'clock. There was no other definition. And if we remind people, previously the proposal was to close at 2 a.m. We listened to the mobile food vendors. We heard what they said about their concerns about closing at that time. And so, that's why we came up with this compromise of closing it, stopping service at 2:30, giving them the half hour to get out of there and get off the streets by 3. You also, just a small clerical error, you said we'll review at the end of 22. It'll be review at the end of 23, of course.
I think I had written 23 and my brain went to 2022, so thank you.
Yeah, no problem. No problem. So will there be an opportunity for, people through public safety or public service to talk about the locations that are defined once they're defined, like for input, for instance? Will the Mobile Food Vending Board have the opportunity to discuss those? Will they have consultation regarding that as they're defined initially, at least?
Councilman Remy, that's the intent, is to get the word out, get some consultation, some feedback, not only from the mobile food vendors, but also from the community groups that have kind of made their wishes known. They are included in the walkthrough Friday, representatives from the Short North Alliance. And so we hope to come to some agreement. I can tell you that we probably will see some of these reservation locations on the west side of High Street, away from the bars, but where people still park their car and are getting to parking locations. So it's always been very heavily weighted on the east side of High Street where they have chosen to work. We're going to push some of those to the west side so that we can probably come up with more locations and not so tight spacing.
Okay, thank you. And what's your intended target date for, let's just say, a first meeting of the Mobile Food Vending Board?
That will depend upon the director's appointments, but we're going to try to get those pushed through. I would like to have one by the middle of April.
Okay. All right, thank you. And we'll help make sure that, that's
Great.
accommodated as well. I think that's all the questions I really have at this point. So I appreciate the presentation. We will move into the public speaking portion of this. This evening we have 6 public speakers and we received 3 pieces of written testimony at this point. So as I call your name, please state your name. As I call you up, please state your name when you get up to the podium, your address, and any organization you may represent. You have 3 minutes to speak. And so our first presenter this evening is Victor Dabbs, and on deck is Moatez Elbana. Mr. Dabbs? Yes, sir. Yeah. State your name, address, and any organization you represent. Thank you.
My name is Victor Dabbs. I've been in the business since '94. I spoke last time, and I explained the situation probably in this auditorium. I'm probably the only one that have the most experience in what we deal with working nighttime. The hardest thing working nighttime, many of the people here mentioned that most of the money is made between 1:30 to almost 3:15. That's 95% of the income generating around that time. So 2:30 for us is a lot better than 2 o'clock. But we run into a situation where we're dealing with people that come out of the bars and they had a few drinks. And to tell them that we closed, let's say around 2 o'clock, that's very difficult. Around 2:30, this is a little bit easier because you don't have as much crowd as you do around 2 o'clock, if we're lucky. So when they come out, they're smelling the food all night. They anticipating that they're gonna come out of the bars, grab sandwich or two. And the reason they grab these sandwiches is because it's convenient. It's convenient, they got to have it. Most of them, they go to their cars and most of them eat it in the car before they hit the road. And it does help them dilute that alcohol in their stomach before they hit the freeway. So maybe it does save some lives. But the hardest part is really convincing these people that you closed. They just don't understand that you closed. No matter how much you explain it, because, as I mentioned, they had few drinks. So to talk, you cannot talk rationally to them. And that's a situation we're gonna run into. The only people will experience that are the food vendors, because they have to deal with these bar patrons that came out of the bars, and some of them are semi-drunk. So to tell them you closed, it's a very, very hard situation for us. How do you solve it? I have no idea, but you already got the idea how we feel about it. This is my analysis. This is my experience of what goes out there around that time. And that's what's going to happen. So how do you resolve it? I have no idea.
Certainly
How do
appreciate.
you confront it?
I appreciate.
How do you deal with it?
I appreciate the
Yes,
testimony.
that's the only problem that we're going to run into. But 2:30 is a lot better than 2 o'clock for the vendors. And if it does get enacted, that's okay. That's okay with some of us.
Well, it'd be this committee's expectation that the Short North Alliance, the Division of Police, and everybody else that's involved in the area would help to communicate that to patrons and understand that, you know, moving forward, this is the
And
expectation.
I want to mention one more thing, and it's really important. Some of these vendors have, I know 2 or 3 of them at least, they have multiple cards, probably 4 or 5 or 6 push cards. And they are really became expert signing up in the lottery system. So if you employ lottery system and put these cards under the lottery system in the Short North area, we, the small guys that have only 1 push card, will have almost no chance whatsoever getting a spot or winning a spot for that particular weekend.
Well, we'll certainly work with
So I have to bring this up so you know, it'll be almost impossible for 1 push cart owner to be drawn in the lottery system when other people have 5.
We will
And
challenge,
they
we
have
will,
them under-
Mr. Dabbs, I appreciate it.
Please
your
keep that
testimony.
in mind.
Yeah, thank you very much. We'll make sure that the division, the licensing division is working on an
They have
equitable
families too.
plan.
They have families, but we have families too.
Absolutely.
But this lottery system will deny us the opportunity to have an income, and they probably have, it's going to work well for them because they have, and it's going to push us going crazy trying to buy more cars, so we are in the.
Understood,
the
Mr.
board-
Dabbs. Thank you so much. Have a good afternoon.
Thank you.
Moatez Albana and then Adam Wallace. Thank you, Mr. Albana. Please state your name and the organization you may be associated with, and you have 3 minutes.
I'm Motaz Al-Banna, 737 Barkwood Avenue. I am a mobile food vendor. I don't have much to say after I read the draft yesterday. This draft is targeting us, not targeting to stop the violence. It is unfair to focus the light at the wrong business for the favor of the other party. Unfair to blame to harm the mobile food vendors for the favor of the Short North area. No data blaming us for any violence. And instead of blaming the bars over getting their patrons intoxicated, and instead of blaming the restaurants open till 6 a.m. in the Short North area, the City of Columbus blaming us. City of Columbus is looking for an excuse to get us out of the Short North area. Also, after I read the draft gives the director of the City of Columbus the authority to take any decision solely without getting back to the board members and vote for it. They apply a reservation system without designated spots. First-degree misdemeanor treating innocent food vendors same as criminals. Everything in the draft is completely unfair. The City of Columbus is rushing to vote for the incomplete draft before April 1st to put it in effect on April 1st. How many spots on the reservation spots? On the reservation system, were over than 200 mobile food vendors. As the city has enough spot reservation to cover all of us, or the rest will become unemployed. We're okay to work till 2:30 a.m., but if the city has not enough spots on the reservation system, they need to leave us to survive till they found a spots for us to work at. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Wallace?
Hello, my name is Adam Wallace, owner of Eden Food Truck and several mobile food vending carts. Good evening, council members. Here we are at the final public hearing regarding the proposed mobile food vending code changes. The word final by definition means not to be altered or undone. So at a meeting like this, a person, the public, could reasonably assume that everything should be in order and that the work product should be complete so the public can actually hear the issues. This isn't what the city has presented. Reading through all of the final proposed code changes that I received just yesterday, all I could think of is who put together this so poorly with critical components being removed. The proposal is a product of rushed work in an attempt to push through changes before the next licensing season, which is April 1st, with an effective enforcement date of May 1st. They are proposing to make changes almost immediately without the actual groundwork being done. You've heard about reservation spots tonight, but where are they exactly? How many reservation spots are slated for the Short North campus? What metric is being used to calculate how many carts to handle X amount of patrons to close by 2:30 a.m. without putting the vendor at risk of a first-degree misdemeanor at 2:31 a.m.? How many total reservation spots against how many registered food cart owners? Kathy Nielsen stated at the first meeting that there were over 265 registered public right-of-way licenses issued last season. Do you know how much sales data the city of Columbus has requested from mobile food vendors to date? To potentially answer these questions? Nothing. Council members, have you asked for any data to help determine how many reservation spots would be needed to not put the vendor at risk? Kathy, have you asked? I haven't heard anything. Why not? Why have these questions not been asked? The whole process to date has started without data, without the gathering of important data, no statistics on crime in relation to mobile food vending, just guesswork and blame shifting from the actual origin. Large sections of the current code are proposed to be deleted. The document sent out looks like a top secret government document with all the redactions. This is how the proposed code sounds to me, a business owner. Dear criminally background check vendor, we have proposed to give ourselves the authority to imprison you for up to 6 months, a fine of $1,000, the revocation of your license to operate on the first offense of any section of the code that we came up with without any oversight from the Mobile Food Vending Board, because we decided to go against our current enforceable code that clearly states how changes are to be made to the code when changes are needed. But we, the city, used COVID to dismantle the existing board and chose not to reconstruct it prior to initiating these changes. We, the city, did this at a critical time so that we can propose to appoint board members at our bidding, almost like a dictatorship, reducing the number of board members from 15 down to 7. We know that the current code is supposed to have 6 elected members from the mobile food vending industry, along with other non-biased members, because we live in a democracy. But for the class of people that the former director of the license section referred to as dogs, we want to appoint a dictator from the Department of Public Safety, so we have removed all the sections of the code that had a minor misdemeanor offense. We want to be the law over your business model. Thank you, Councilmember Remy, for hearing the 2 a.m. shutdown issues, but this proposal is far from finished or final because the groundwork is not done. It's like undercooked chicken. It's not ready to be served. The proposed revisions aren't even done. It won't be done by April 1st. There are 20 food truck spots allocated within the congestion zones throughout the city since 2014. There are less than 10 actually in place. How can someone reasonably expect the city to inform cart owners of essential information before pouring out thousands of dollars in relicensing fees and associated permits on an incomplete blueprint? Imagine 200 registered carts with 20 available spots. All this information should have been ready before this meeting. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Wallace. We appreciate your testimony this evening. Caitlin Dunn-Beebe from the Short North Alliance. Thank you for coming down. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Councilmember Remy. My name is Caitlin Dunn-Beebe, and I am the Deputy Director of Projects and Operations for the Short North Alliance. On behalf of the Short North Alliance, we appreciate the substantial time and consideration that the City of Columbus has invested in this process. The Short North Arts District is the most vibrant spot in our region, and as we grow, it is important that we continue to evolve in the ways in which we care for and support safety for all in our community. As an organization, we have many collaboration programs with the city focused on safety and violence prevention, ranging from the Short North Crime Interdiction Program, the Short North Ambassador Program, and a substantial new partnership with Southeast Healthcare and their REACT team to help individuals get the support that they need. But programs are only one side of keeping a community safe. Strong public policy that is responsive to stakeholder needs, data-informed, and focused on prevention is key. We are thankful that the Council has led this process to hear all sides of these concerns, and we are hopeful that the proposed changes will be a good next step in fostering safety, crime prevention, and support to our community. We look forward to being a partner in the implementation of this policy, and we hope that as we learn even more about our community in the year to come, that the city will continue to hear feedback and be responsive to making policy adjustments so that we can continuously improve safety for all in our community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your testimony. Next is I'm going to say this wrong, I'm sure. Kadu Yohannes. Close? You can tell me how I should have said it. Thank you, Mr. Yohannes.
It was differently, but I guess it's time. It's kind of hard to say anything you have to say about the decision why we shouldn't be in this predicament to begin with. But it is also true that they try to change all these rules. It's only important to understand that we serve food. We serve in the more needed food that these kids are always, drunk or do whatever they do. We provide them the means that they need to get home. And instead of having these kids to go home without having anything to eat, they're going to go around looking for food at 2 a.m. None of these, most of the businesses are closed. None of them can get food at that time. But having these kids with the drinking that they do to wander around, it's very unsafe. And we are also thriving on what they need at that time. We give them safety. We give them right there. They don't have to go far. Just before they even get into the vending machine, into the cars that they take. All I'm saying is that we shouldn't be in this position. We're just trying to provide just the safety needed for those kids. And I think, the new generation, that's all they do is just having fun. Even part of the fight is going to be also, that's fun for them. We have nothing to do with it, nor do we have question for what we sell, So it is, you're going to kill what we do for a living by not allowing us to stay as much as we can. It used to be 5 a.m., 4 a.m. We went down to 3 a.m. That's not more than enough. It's already bad enough. But 3 is not bad. We work with it, and we're not doing anything different than that. If you can just allow us or help us to stay with this, because this decision means everything for us. Every bit of decision that you do. And thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Yohannes. Nick Gandy. Mr. Gandy, you have 3 minutes. Please state your name, any organization that you may be involved with.
Thank you, Councilmember Remy and Lucy for putting all of those emails out. Basically, so I'm Nick Gandhi. I created Street Food Finder a few blocks from here when I lived across the street from the courthouse, actually. As you know, food desert for downtown for quite a while, so visiting the food trucks was a daily basis for me. So 2010, I created it. 2015, or between 2010 and 2015, it became the de facto standard all over Ohio, parts of North Carolina, West Coast, East Coast, kind of everywhere. In 2015, we worked with the food trucks, the food carts, and the other vendors of Columbus to create a custom reservation system. We got input from the city and from the Mobile Food Vending Board, implemented all those changes as well. So what we have here is a complete custom solution for exactly what was asked for the city of Columbus. Over the last, since we got the contract in 2016, Our mandate has basically been to do right by the vendors and keep our costs as low as possible. Our prices are basically still 2 to 7 times cheaper than what the previous system was charging in 2015, for context. As far as the, we've grown to basically work with thousands of trucks across the country with hundreds of cities, and all of that learning that we take, we bring back here to Columbus. As far as the time change, we got a lot of feedback from the carts on that, a lot of worry. I think your guys' solution is addressing that, and it's much appreciated. For safety, there's obviously multiple things that are going on. It's actually something we're seeing as nationwide as pushback, but there are multiple facets that we've seen in multiple of those cities, which is the number of bars have gone up, the number of places to go out have been consolidated, for example, the loss of Park Street. And then, to be totally frank, the post-COVID attitude, as I'm sure everyone's experienced, people are a little bit less friendly, a little bit less neighborly, which kind of makes it harder, right? In reference to the code, I did have a quick thing I wanted to mention. I believe the initial code actually implied to the reservation software handled all the permitting stuff, including the general permit, which we do not do, and that's, I think, why 141 was struck. So just want to make sure that that was part of it. I know that's already being worked on, but I wanted to kind of bring it up. I know that we had some questions about the booking stuff. We have tons of customizations, rules that we can put in place to ensure everybody gets a fair chance. That's not a problem at all. We just need to be told what they are. We can get them in place. As far as the code, it allows for every public right-of-way permit to be treated equally. So as soon as we figure out what the equitable split on that is, we can implement that. That's not going to be an issue at all. So as far as that, there's no concern on that on our end. I believe one of the other questions was basically more reservation system spots, et cetera. So as far as that, we did actually, prior to COVID, go out with a few carts and mark a bunch of different spots all along High Street, as well as where some bars on Park Street closed and on Long Street. That's something that I think that we should be doing again, and I think is going to be happening shortly, which should help increase the number of spots and address those concerns from the carts and the trucks. And again, Street Food Finder available to provide any data, any information, or any kind of assistance that we can. We also want to be impartial as much as possible and kind of not direct the code in any way. So that's our goal at the end of it.
Thank you very much for your testimony. We appreciate it.
Of course.
I do want to highlight a couple things that were brought up during the discussion. Director, talking about Mr. Wallace's concerns about knowing how many spots there are. Can we get your commitment that we'll hold off on licensing until those spots are identified so that they can make informed decisions on how many carts they want to actually license or not? Correct?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
We'll have to, that's a public service decision. They will be going with us Friday as well.
Okay, great.
And so they'll have some feet on the ground experience and looking to see how many we can identify.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, there was a couple of references to the first-degree misdemeanor and a $1,000 fine. Those are, let's be clear, that's for unlicensed operators. I haven't met one vendor yet that would accept an unlicensed operator. So that is, we want to be clear, if you're operating after closing time, it's a minor misdemeanor. So I just wanted to provide that clarification. It's a first-degree misdemeanor if they're operating without a license. That will not be tolerated, period, dot. This is not the final. There's still room for comment. There's still room for taking your calls and emails. We will put this on the agenda, and the rest of the process will play out as we move forward. Our intent is to have it on the agenda on the 13th with final passage on the 20th. So I want to thank everyone. Do you have any additional comments, Director, or?
Chair Remy, a couple things that were said tonight I have some ideas about that I would like, especially dealing with the hours. That's going to be an education thing, first of all, and second of all, I might suggest that maybe we talk about, I don't know if we want to mandate it or not, but they have to list their hours of service, and so it just makes it easier to point at the sign and say that's the law.
Yeah, I expect cooperation, like I said earlier, from the Short North Alliance, from the business owners in the area to let people know. And sometimes when that deadline is set, then people know that they better get out there and grab their sandwich a little bit earlier. So again, this is something that we're going to use for this season. We will look at this at the end of the season, and of course, with the advice and recommendations based on the Mobile Food Vending Board, we will look to them for any type of clarification or changes that we might need to make in code moving into next season. So I do want to thank everyone for joining us this evening. This was the third and final public hearing over mobile food vending legislation. This legislation, again, will come to Columbus City Council on Monday, March 13th, with a second read on March 20th. On Monday, March 20th, if passed by Columbus City Council and signed by the mayor, this legislation will take into effect on Monday, May 1st. Thank you to Kathy Collins for your presentation and leadership in this effort, and thank you to Linda Bickerstaff from the City Attorney's Office for being present to answer questions. We certainly appreciate the amount of engagement, especially from the mobile food vendors themselves, business owners, residents, and others. This was a long process, and I believe that we heard from many different perspectives. It went from people wanting an outright ban to 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, and of course, the proposed department of 2 o'clock, 2:30 is where we've settled. We are listening. We want to make sure that we can all live harmoniously between business owners, residents, and patrons of the establishment. So thank you to the council team who made today's hearing possible. Lucy Frank, my aide, Kaylin Pittman, my assistant, John Oswald, Nia Hairston, Mark Carter, and to the CTV team for their assistance in preparing this evening. And last but not least, thank you to everyone for the numerous times we've had the opportunity to engage over the past 5 months to help craft this legislation. Let's work hard to make it the best possible for our 2023 summer season. I hope you all stay safe. Have a great evening. This concludes tonight's hearing.